guys, this is Ryan over at Turbo 360, and I know a lot of you have been doing a lot of web development lately, and we want to start working on building out more courses for mobile development, primarily using React Native, as a lot of the skills you guys probably have picked up will transfer over pretty well. Unfortunately, though, there is a little extra setup involved, so that's the point of this video. The setup's a little more longer, I guess, than installing a couple of global node modules and whatnot. So we're gonna make this video just to kind of separate it out from the tutorials, and it'll be a prerequisite for all the tutorials. Otherwise, we can spend a half hour before every tutorial setting up. So that's what this kind of is, prerequisite. And just so you are aware, no matter what kind of development machine you have, Windows, Linux, Mac, old, new, you will be able to develop mobile apps. There's just certain restrictions and certain advantages to certain operating systems, which we'll get into. But no matter what your development environment is, you will be able to create React Native apps. There's just different steps and some restrictions, unfortunately, but don't let that stop you, and we'll go through all the different scenarios. So first, to get started, if you guys have been doing some of the web stuff, you probably already have Node.js installed. If not, go to nodejs.org and download the LTS, long-term stable version. At the time of this recording, it's 8.10. It changes pretty frequently, but shouldn't matter. Just go here, download it. Should take you about 5 to 10 minutes to install, I would say. So install that and come back. Alright, once that's installed, what you want to do is open up your terminal, and all you have to do is type in node-v, and you should get a response back like this. That's how you know it's installed. If not, something went wrong, and troubleshoot. If you have a terminal tab open, you may need to restart it right when you download it. Log back in. Let's say you get something like that, command not found. Probably means something went wrong with the install. I just made up a fake command there, but basically the system's not recognizing the node command, so something went wrong. So if you don't get a version number back, you gotta figure that out. Alright, so next up is React Native. Now if we go to the Getting Started guide here, there's two sections. There's a quick start and building projects with native code. I'm basically going over both the same processes. Everything you need is right here. I'm just making a video, make it a little easier. But we're going to start with the building projects with native code, because that is preferred. And then the fallback for those who have environment issues and whatnot is the quick start, which we'll get over to. But let me just make sure we're all doing the same. I haven't looked at their guide in a while. Alright, so we're doing the exact same thing, which is good. So, alright, so as you see here, they have the different development environments: Mac, Windows, Linux, and target iOS or Android. So if you click, let's say, Windows, and say target iOS, they're going to say it's unsupported. So basically, Apple locks everyone into their developer ecosystem, evil or smart or both, but you have to be on a Mac if you want to make iOS apps with create with the React Native CLI. Later we'll get into the fallbacks, but for now, if you want to be an app developer making iOS apps, that's your primary goal. You want to invest in a Mac. I hate to say it, but at the current time, you pretty much need to. If you're making like some hobby apps and you kind of want to get it running on your iOS, your phone, and it's nothing too crazy, no crazy native dependencies, you can get it done with Expo, which again is the fallback, and in their guide, the quick start, we'll get to later. But for the most part, if you want to make iOS apps, you're going to do it professionally, you need to have a Mac. So Linux and Windows users, you can make Android apps, and obviously with Mac, you can also make Android. So with any operating system, you can do Android. If you want to do iOS, you also need a Mac. Now, the good thing is with React Native, I would say about 80 to 90% of the code is going to be the same. So let's say you don't have a Mac, you want to make an iPhone or Android app, build it with React Native, build it for Android, and then later on figure out how to get the iOS one working, but most of the work is already there and done. You have to adjust some styles, certain libraries will be a little different, but you shouldn't let that stop you from building your app. So back to the software requirements. We installed Node. I'm going to install the React Native CLI. So if you open your terminal, and make sure your Node is working. When you install Node, it automatically installs npm. So if you run npm-v, you should see some sort of version number there. We're going to run this command. Now, for those of you new to Node, anything you install globally like this, these are kind of global dependencies. So these are different commands you're going to be able to run from your command line as opposed to for specific projects. So we want the React Native CLI so we can generate new React Native projects. So that's going to be a global dependency. So I'm going to install that. That should be about version 2 or so. And now that's a quick one. Our final dependency is Xcode Android Studio. So again, if you're using a Mac, you can do iOS. You want to install Xcode. Most of you probably have it included in your on what comes with your computer. If not for some reason, or you're not up to date, or you kind of got rid of it, it's pretty large, just Google Xcode. It's free. Download it. You're going to need it. For those of you going to be making Android apps, let me get this out of the way. You need Android Studio. Again, just Google Android Studio. It's the first result. Download it. It's going to take 700. Both of them are going to take a while, so download them, install them, make sure they run, and pause the video. So just to show you, make sure it starts up. There's my Xcode. So do that. It could take you, depending on your internet connection, half hour or so, but get those done and then come back. I'll pause this for a second so everyone can install. Alright guys, after you have those installed, we should be able to build our project. Now, it's going to be slightly different commands, almost the exact same, but just we'll start with iOS, and I do want to point out while we were paused, I was just checking the Facebook docs, and they recommend installing Watchman. So they say it's not required, but it helps. Basically, watches for file changes. Highly recommended for better performance. So, when you get a chance, you don't have to do it right now. Just you have to have Homebrew, which is a whole other installation, which I don't want to get into. But I'll leave a note at the end. But it's going to be brew install Watchman. And a lot of you probably already have Homebrew installed. If you type which brew, you should get back the location. If not, Homebrew is basically kind of like a package manager for your system. Think of kind of like Node, similar idea. If not, install that. Just Google it, install it. But that's a whole nother, and not required, so I don't want to get into that here. But if you want to look into it later, I would say go for it. Anyway, now that we have all our software installed, we want to create our React Native app. So go to where you normally develop your software. For me, that's my desktop. So CD to your desktop. And then you're going to run React Native init, and I'll call it new project. And there we go. So that's building a project for us. And just again, I wrote down the commands for all you guys. React Native init, new project. That'll take a minute or two. And then we're going to get, iOS or Android, they should be running that command. Then this is where it's kind of slightly different right here. Alright, so next up we want to CD into our project. And if you type ls, you'll see you got the file structure here. We have our app.js, Android specific, iOS specific stuff. So it appears to have worked. And this also ran npm install for us, so that's good. So next up we want to do React Native Start. Now this is the same for iOS or Android, but this basically runs the packager in the background. And this is something, we're going to need a few tabs because you start this up, and it basically bundles your JS and your assets and allows it to run on devices. So this is always going to just stay running in this tab. So open a new tab, Command T for Mac users, and we're already in the same directory. If not, or if you guys, you open a new tab, make sure you're in the same directory. I don't know if every terminal scopes the same directory on the new tab. Just make sure you're in the new project. Because if not, for example, if you're still on the desktop or your home, when you run the next command, it's not going to work. So for iOS, we're going to run React Native, run iOS. See, not recognized. So just make sure you're in that directory right here. We're going to do React Native, run iOS. Again, this is iOS Mac specific. Next we're going to get to Android. It's very, very similar, but I want to be explicit about both. I'm just going to hide this because it's kind of not needed. So again, CD into the project, or create the project, CD into it, React Native start, and then React Native run iOS. And React Native start's always going to stay running. React Native run iOS, you don't need to leave running, but I usually just leave a tab there in case it crashes or I need to restart, and I do all my work in like a third tab. So let's check on our simulator. Alright, the first time you do this, it takes a while, so just bear with me. But right now it's creating like a whole Xcode project and stuff the first time, so it takes a while. Like your computer. The next time you do it takes probably like 10 seconds. So and while this is going, I mentioned kind of this is the preferred way and it's more difficult. We're going to do the other ones a fallback. The reason it's preferred is it's kind of like you're done in React where there's create React app. It's kind of, you have less, you're kind of more insulated from the stuff kind of going on behind the scenes, and you're going to, for most like production apps, need to get behind the scenes to fix stuff. You're going to need to go into Xcode and Android Studio and link to like different packages, and it's kind of just better to learn this way. If you're just playing around and you want to make like a calculator app or I don't know, just take something like that. I mean, there's no reason you can't use the other way, just to mess around. But we're trying to teach like industry standard best practices, and figure out later on. Okay, so that just finished, and here it's loading. I'll just put these commands up one more time for everyone. So welcome to React Native. We've got an app running. If you command R, it's going to refresh. So we're going to actually open this project up real quick. And so if you go to your app.js, says welcome to React Native. We're going to change this. Hello from Turbo. I'll come back to the simulator here, Command R refresh, and that's updated. So this is an iOS app. If you look right here, that's your app. So it's up and running, and you guys are good. You're set up for iOS. Now, for Android, and again, I just want to point out, I changed this and refresh and reload it. That's because we have this package running. So if you watch here, as an exclamation points, and I save this. Sorry guys, got a lot of windows here. Now when I refresh, you'll see it rebundles the JS. So that's why we leave this packager running all the time. Again, that's the React Native start command. That's this one. Alright, now for Android, you guys have been patient enough. I'm going to close out Xcode. So you downloaded Android Studio. So this is where it's slightly different. A lot of the Mac stuff, just run React Native on iOS, and it kind of creates the whole project for you, launches the emulator. So what we need to do is we need to open Android Studio. Start a new project. And go to project on your desktop and navigate to the Android folder. Maybe I might have made the Android project first. Actually, hold on. So go to open an existing project. Desktop, new project, Android, open. Alright, so just go to open existing project and navigate to the new project / I'll just make a note here. Alright, so that's opened, and yeah, so at least last time I tried this, and maybe some of the React Native stuff changed, and the CLI changed, but last time I did this, so same as iOS, we need to start this bundler, React Native Start. And then you want to keep this tab running, same as the other one. Add cd to directory. I'm already there. But if you're not, same as before. Cd into the project root directory. New projects. You type ls list of files. You should see app, Android, iOS, etc. Now what we want to do is type React Native run Android, and this is where you'll see a slight difference. I believe it will not launch. Well, it should fail. And the reason being is we're not automatically linked to any type of Android device. So that's something we have to set up, and it's pretty easy. Build failed. No connected devices. So if you guys have an Android phone, plug it into your computer, and what you can do is type ADB Android Device Bridge devices, and it lists all your attached devices. Right now nothing is attached, so that's why it can't run. So if you just plug it in, that should work. But if you want to also have it on your screen, that's easier. What you can do is you go to Android, Tools, Android Virtual Device Manager. And what this does is, if you're on Apple with Xcode, there's only like 6 different iPhones, so they just have them all there. You basically can download different virtual devices. So here's like the Nexus 5X, here's the Pixel, and I already have them. This takes a little bit, so if you don't have any in there, go to Create Virtual Device, and you can create, Pixel XL. It's like what operating system, and download and build it. You have to download disk image, so it takes a while. So I don't want to do it here. But just follow the prompt and download a virtual device. And once you have it, the list in here. So for now, I'm just going to use Nexus 5X. So double click it. Now we have this Nexus running. And what I want to do go back to my command line. If I type ADB devices again, it shows an attached device. So you should see the same thing if you're working with an attached physical device as well. So once that's showing, I'm going to rerun React Native run Android. This might not work, so there's one more step, but I want to see. Like 6 months between restarting a new project. I haven't done this in a while for missing that step. And apparently not. I mean, it's working. So I'll if anyone has any issues, let me know. But sometimes I've had experiences where people's projects can't find the Android SDK, and I'll show you here. So you create a local.properties file in that Android root. You have to explicitly find the SDK. Last time I did a project, I had to do this, but I wonder if they changed something with React Native or the paths. I wonder if I even have Android local.properties. So this was generated when I did React Native init. In the past, I had to manually add this, so this is something I must have gotten improved in one of the versions. But if you have any issues or it's not finding your SDK, just be aware of this local.property file in new project /Android, and you have to explicitly tell it where your Android SDK is. So again, I had a note here to add this. It seems to be working by default, so maybe your SDK is not in a standard location or something. This is where you would come and just edit it and just give that file path. So yeah, as of now, here's our iOS simulator. Here's my Android. So we're up and running on both. Yeah, so life is good. If you guys ran into any issues due to maybe your machine isn't powerful enough to have the full-blown Android Studio or Xcode, and you want to go to the alternate route that we earlier discussed, let's do that quick now. Just gonna shut down these between my Android Studio, Xcode, and the QuickTime recording. I think my computer's gonna explode. Okay, so again, this is the alternate method. Let me just pull up Chrome again quick. On React Native Docs, it's the quick start, and what this does is it uses something called Expo, which they've been working on a lot lately. I haven't really done too much with it because I use the other method, but I think you can deploy to, or they're working on deploying to the App Store actually. And what this does is the way we used before, we can natively link to different native modules. It kind of is like a software that sits in between React Native and your app, and they even, I guess now they have access to camera, push notifications, ARKit. But you have to use their API and SDK. But I know Facebook is backing and investing a lot in it, so I mean, I guess at some point it might be just as good. Yeah, but anyway, so you'll see what I mean in a second. So now we're not using Xcode, we're not using Android Studio. We're going to go to our terminal and go back to where you usually make your projects, and we're going to install create React Native app. And so this is a different global command line module. Again, before we were using React Native CLI. Now we just download create React Native app. You can even tell by here, it's a much simpler setup. So we install create React Native app, and then we're going to do, before we did React Native init, this is synonymous to that, create React Native app and our project name. We'll call this new project 2. And it's going to make a whole React Native project. It's going to look pretty much, I mean, it's going to look the exact same. Just has a Expo dependency instead of some of the other stuff. And you can always eject and migrate later on, but that's kind of not really the scope or part of this video. I just want to make sure everyone gets up and running. Also, while this is going, I have seen with Expo, there's some other stuff where you can develop in the browser. I think it's Expo Snack. So if you look right here, so they're working on a lot of cool stuff. You'll see what I mean in a second. It's pretty much the same. It's just not completely native. But if you don't have the capabilities to do what we did before, this is a good alternative. And for most of the tutorials, you should be. I'll mention if something's not going to work. It's really, you're going to run into issues when you start working with anything where you need Xcode or Android Studio and linking, and then you have to find an alternative. For example, the navigation library that's now recommended by Facebook, React Navigation, Expo. Before that, it was React Native Navigation, and there was more native dependencies and linking, and you couldn't. But anything that's pure JS, pure React code, you can run right in Expo. So I would say don't be discouraged, and try to get this set up and follow along. It's taking a few minutes, sorry guys. But while you're waiting, what you want to do is go on your phone, your iOS or Android, and let's see if that's kind of hard to see, but you want to download the Expo app right there. So go to the apps, and when you open that up, sorry guys, this glare is bad. Let me try this. No, it doesn't help. Okay, so you should see something like that where, sorry guys, scan QR code. This is a free app. Show one more time. I don't really know if. But anyway, you open the app. You can see scan QR code. So what you want to do, we just created our new project. We're going to CD into it. And we're going to run npm start. Download client on mobile. And look, you'll see when we do that, it gives us this giant QR code, right? So what we do is on our app, that's on our phone, that Expo app, hit that scan QR code and scan it. It's going to be too hard to see. I apologize, guys. I'm trying my best here. But see how I just scanned it? It works pretty cool, actually. It says opening project. And we should still building our bundle. I'll hold this up again in a second. Alright, so I have it running here on my phone. And again, I apologize that this is so hard to see. And just like before, I'm going to change that so that it says just some change text so we can see if it's running. So I'm going to just go back to Sublime, X out this old one. And then here, it's going to say going to actually give this a style just so we can see. If you look here, it just bundled the JavaScript again, and I didn't even update on my phone. I didn't move anything, and it's right there. So it's pretty cool. I guess my point is, if you go through the initial one, your development environment doesn't support. It can't handle a load of Android Studio, Xcode, or you want to make iOS apps and don't have a Mac. Don't fear. You can get like, I would say 90% of the way there with Expo, and I know they keep working on improving it, so don't be discouraged. Definitely do tutorials, and I mean, it is pretty cool. I might look into setting some stuff up or kind of posting some stuff on that Expo snack that we looked at before, just so you can have some code examples online later on. So we're going to be looking into that. And yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much covered how to set up all the environments. Sorry, our iOS and Android development environment, depending on what you're able to do based on your system. And I think from here on in, we could just start out all our videos just straight run the React Native start command, React Native run iOS or Android, or if you're on Expo, npm start, and we should be able to, move along nicely. So again, I'm just going to end by showing this again quick for those of you who need to see some of the commands again. React Native CLI. I'm just showing the commands, anything that's not just a download click, that you might have lost or be looking for. React Native init, React Native start, React Native on iOS, and React Native on Android. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It just takes a little while to get through, and yeah, I'm looking forward to actually building out some real stuff now. All right, later, guys.